joined right now by a very special guest to talk about what is happening with regards to the cargo volumes, which has seen a significant dent in COVID-19 period. And to take this conversation forward, I have with me Mr. Jakob Sorensen. He's the Managing Director at APM Terminals, Pipavav, from Gujarat. He's joining in right now. Jakob, thanks very much for taking out the time. These are unprecedented times for everybody and every industry. There's no playbook to go by. We've not seen such a thing happen in the past that we can learn from history. But, as we go along, do you feel things are starting to, while obviously, ports is running to maintain sustenance, but there are significant challenges for a company such as yourself as well. Could you highlight what you're going through in this period?
Yes, good morning, Davina, and thanks for having us here. You're right. I mean, I can try to remember back to the Lehman Brothers crisis more than a decade ago, but then again, this is different. I believe, yes, we can say we've gone through several phases already. So we've all been spectators and watching what was going on in China, and then all of a sudden we had it here on our own doorsteps in India. When it comes to the port, you're also correct that we've been definitely preparing for safety and security, for PPEs and equipment, masks and so on for our staff. And then on the 23rd of March, when the lockdown was declared, we all of a sudden had very little time to scramble and get that effectuated and get that in place. And actually, I'm in the port myself. I've been here since March on the ground in Pipavav, and I must say the people are coming together like a team building exercise that you would never be able to stage. So that side of it is actually very heartening, and it goes both for our direct employees, our subcontractors, and it goes for the customs people and government. And so I think here in Pipavav and in the southern part of Gujarat, it's a rather unique situation we are in. Now, to answer your question about the phase we are looking at right now, that is really what's going to happen now that the lockdown is extended. So we still have cargo coming into the pipeline, which was planned, and actually the first quarter, as you know, we are a public listed company and we are in lockdown when it comes to the financial performance. But when it comes to the volume, the first quarter of 2020 was actually quite okay. And speaking of April here, we are still seeing cargo coming in by ship, so we are still having very effective rail operations going on. Ironically, it's very effective because there are no passenger trains, so all the cargo trains going north and south between Gujarat and the northern part of India is actually running. We have a transit time now of less than 48 hours from here to Delhi, so that's amazing. The big question is for everybody, what's going to happen now in May and June? Are we really seeing a drop in the volumes, or will we start slowly to actually reboot and get some industries back on track? What's going to happen? That's the big question.
Yeah, so, that probably puts quarter one of FY21 in focus now with regards to the impact on volumes. Could you tell me in broadly percentage terms, what could be the downward pull for volumes for, the first quarter as we step into the first quarter of FY21, and any particular regional exposures that get hit the most for your volumes?
Well, what we have seen now is actually a drop less than 10%, which is amazing. The big question is what's going to happen here in the latter part of April, May, and June in quarter two. And there it's a bit up and down, because at the same time as we are seeing cancellations of shipping lines and so on, but we are also seeing that there are some potential pockets of new opportunities coming in. We see a little bit surge in our export of reefer cargo, which is of course agricultural products, and we have a couple of big clients that are actually able to push export That means cargo that they would otherwise have been selling in India, they're now exporting it. So the net effect, I'm still crossing my finger, the net effect is less dramatic for us in Pipavav, and I'm sure that the situation will be different in large ports like in Navasheva and in Mundra. But since we are a little small niche port where we actually have almost 100% of the operation ongoing, I think we have catched the attention of certain people who actually see this as an opportunity to let their business continue. So it is really, if I had that crystal ball, it would be great. But I would say my biggest dilemma here is to try to balance that we keep our people safe, we keep our people able to come to work, giving the lockdown and giving the restrictions we do have. At the same time, I can't afford to have a lot of people standing by and then the volume doesn't show up. So that's the big question. But so far, actually, the volume forecast does look a little bit encouraging.
Yeah, so that is encouraging. In fact, a 10% hit, that's it. I mean, that would be wishful thinking for many industries at this point. So that's really great to hear. But I just want to point out some of the other challenges, and you can tell me if they indeed are a challenge for Gujarat Pipavav or no. So there was a report that I read that suggested that the turnaround time for ships is going to be higher. Supply chain disruptions are going to impact last mile connectivity. There is a big demand shock. Exports will be hit much sharper than imports, particularly from the SME segment. Any of these that, according to you, are a big challenge for Gujarat Pipavav or not so much so?
Well, it's going to be a big challenge, and it's not only in India, but it's certainly also, we are part of a global supply chain in some way. So demand, for example, in Europe, I would predict is going to be totally dead in the next few months. And then there is cargo in the pipeline. What are we going to do with that? So actually we have made capacity in our yards here for additional storage. And that means that even if the demand crunch is there and people are not able to receive cargo in Europe and the US, we could still accommodate exporters so they could go back to manufacturing and we could keep it here so that they still can keep going, and then we will have to forecast when we can open up for the tap in the other end. But as I said, it's these scenarios that are really difficult to project, and I want to be also realistic. We are working on scenarios where we say 10% volume drop, 20% volume drop, and 30% volume drop. So for those scenarios, I do have a playbook that is rather drastic should that happen. At the same time, as I just mentioned, it could be that we are seeing new opportunities trying to mitigate all these global disruptions. There might actually be some chances that we can use our capacity to fit into the global supply chain.
Yeah, you spoke about having warehousing for storage of cargo if demand dips and you're not able to, and countries are not able to pick up. Won't that increase fixed costs for the company?
Yeah, but even when you say warehousing, we do have warehouses, and that means gudangs and warehouses with roof over. But the blessing, the silver lining is that we have plenty of empty containers. So actually, I could store empty containers, or I could store full containers with cargo in it, be that even import or export. We have a large client in the north, in Delhi, who's electronic manufacturer, and they are actually importing spare parts and components, and they are keeping a lot of their imports in a bonded zone where they will be able to take that stock in as soon as they need it to the factory. So there's a lot of planning going on, and I believe that everything that was a reality and the way we did it yesterday, just in time and so on, that's going to be redefined tomorrow. So for all the good innovators, and let's not forget also, there's a lot of good opportunities now to really go digital. So one good example I have is that our local customs people here in Pipavav, they've actually been amazing. They've been working from home, but they've been working online. So I'm hopeful that actually when we get to the other side of this challenge here, then things like electronic customs clearance and no more paperwork and stamps, that could be a reality coming out of this.
Okay, that sounds great. Jakob, what's the word on capex, and does that get pushed back materially?
That's a really good question, and we don't know each other so well, but I'm known as a guy who don't give up and as a guy who push things forward. And if I look at one of my really big idols, that is the founder of AP Moller Maersk, Mr. Maersk McKinney Moller, and in our group we have always been very good at actually investing and doing investments and purchases when the market is down. And if we had an opportunity for us right now, then I don't think we've seen anything more interesting than right now. But at the same time, I have to modify my statements here because I still need to get proposals on the table. I need to get them through investment committees. Financing our group is pretty strong with a lot of cash and so on. But I would say there will be some global opportunities around the board, and we are obviously competing with the resources as well. But I would not say that we have put a stop to capex at the moment. We're still trying to see what are the opportunities as well.
Yeah, Pimi, you're sounding more optimistic as every question passes. Capex on track, volumes not impacted much. But let me get to the other key angle, and that's realizations. Do you see that getting impacted?
I do, and again, it's my nature to be optimistic, and I don't give up, Davina. But on the other hand, we need to be realistic. So that's what I said. I do have some tough scenarios to face up to as well. And what do we do if the volumes really go down? What do we do if everything is postponed? Then obviously we can't just sit here and have all the fixed cost and all the expenses. We are facing a lot of our customers also asking us to waive bills and postpone billing and waive charges, and I'm not in a position to sit and just be the kind Mother Teresa of shipping. So we have some tough calls to make as well, even if we are trying to work with our customers to make everybody get through this and be alive on the other side of the crisis.
All right, Jakob, thank you so much for joining and really appreciate you taking out the time. It was great hearing that at least a few companies are managing to pull through even in these tough times. And, cargo volumes, while suffering, at least for Gujarat people, they seem to be, fairly okay about it. Ruchit, you have a comment on any of these ports, Adani ports, Gujarat, Pipavav? Do you track them at all?
We have not seen any kind of good volumes building up along with the